This is the Platinum Podcast.
Welcome to the Platinum Podcast.
Oh, great to be here. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, it should be good fun. I'm pretty excited for this one because we've got such a massive community in Manchester. For some reason, we just have so many members from your neck of the woods, and the people there, the support is like no other. It's absolutely insane. Why are they so crazy and fanatic about anything they support?
Well, they're just very proud of the hometown. They're very humble. You don't get loudmouth people because if you was a loudmouth or you're a little bit too big for your boots, they certainly let you know about it. And that's why I had such a good following because even though I won world titles and boxed in Vegas and did all this, I always, I still only live like 10 minutes down the road from where I was born. I still go to my local pub. I still play darts with my mates. Well, before the lockdown, obviously, that goes without saying. But, I'll go to the match and watch City. And I just, even though my life has changed very much, I haven't changed. And that's what the Manchester people loved about me. And that's what people like about Manchester. That's the way the people are.
That doesn't happen very often. You don't get people to get your kind of level and then you see them down the local pub. That must be a really weird scenario for most people. I couldn't imagine that. That would be a weird one.
But no, I've always been that way. I played for the Vets Sunday football team, which is, the over 40s now, because I'm knocking on a little bit now. I mean, I'm no David Silva, as they say, but still play football. I train me boxers. I'm a professional boxing trainer now. I still play darts in my local pub, play for the Vets football team. And like I say, I have the same mates I went to school with from day one. So a lot of things have changed, but nothing has really changed for me in from that respect, and that's why, as I just repeat myself, that's why people like me. And to be honest with you, that's the way it should be. I don't want patting on the back for doing that. If you want to be a little bit up yourself and everything like that, good for you. You're entitled to your own thing, but I don't want to know you. Neither do Manchester people.
So the irony is you're actually different for not being a dickhead when you got famous.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's absolutely insane. I remember when so many of my friends were flying over to Vegas to the Mayweather fight, and the following that you took with you was it was insane.
Yeah, well, for the Floyd, mate, I mean, it got bigger over the years. My first one was against Juan Urango, and I think 6,000 went over. And then for the Castillo fight, 10,000 went over. Then for Mayweather, 40,000 went over. And then Castillo, I beg your pardon, Malignaggi, I think there was like 15,000. Then for Pacquiao, there's about 25,000. I mean, them numbers are like 40,000 fans going over to watch. If 40,000 fans flew over to watch England in the World Cup, you know what I mean? That'd be something else, but they come to watch one fella. So it was, and even though it ended in defeat, anything like that, those are still days that, that still one of my greatest moments. When you see what Floyd went on to achieve after he boxed me, he'll probably go down as arguably the greatest fighter of all time. Bit of a dickhead, like, but but probably one of the greatest fighter from a boxing perspective. Of all time. And it still makes me feel very, very proud when I go in and around my local area, or even when I go out of town to, say, Liverpool or London or Newcastle or wherever, and people, you always bump into someone that said, I went to the Mayweather fight. Oh, my God, what a time. One of the best times I've ever had. And that means a lot to me, what the fans thought. I mean, I wouldn't have been, the greatest achievement was my fan base. When you look at the numbers I just talked about there, it's incredible. And it's still years on now, and people, when they still talk about it, what good times I gave them, that's what it's all about for me, yeah.
Yeah, that is a beautiful thing, because let's be real, your boxing record's no joke either, but the highlight for you is still what you gave to the fans, and you gave it all every single time you stepped in that ring.
Yeah, no, and I had so many great fights. I became the best in my weight division and became a 2-weight world champion. And when I was one of the also proudest moments, which is non-boxing related, well, I suppose it is boxing related, when I got an MBE by Prince Charles at Buckingham Palace for services to boxing. And that's not just for getting in the ring and winning world titles, for my country and stuff like that. It's the other things that I did away from the ring, my charity charity work, and and trying to with the mental health and the homeless, and I've done so much charity work, and it's nice to be recognised for not just cracking a few ribs, but for doing other stuff and using your position in order to help others. And that's I always knew from a very young age I had a good chance of doing pretty well at boxing, because I knew from a young age, I had a talent for it. But I mean, to get an MBE from at Buckingham Palace is something that I don't think me or my family ever expected. Oh yeah,
it's not a bad set of credentials for a man that likes to play darts down the local pub with his pals.
Yeah.
How did that all start? So when you first got into boxing, at what stage did you really know that you were destined to do something great in the sport?
Well, I did kickboxing first when I was a young. Excuse me. When I was a youngster, I was into all the Bruce Lee films, and I used to love Bruce Lee. So then, like any youngster, as a 9-year-old or whatever, you say, "Oh, I want to go down and learn karate, Dad. I want to go to the karate club." So I went to the karate club, and I've always been the short and stocky type. So obviously, with my little stumpy legs, I wasn't very good at the kicking. So to be honest, I was getting my head kicked in. But it was clear to see that my talent wasn't with my feet; it was with my fists. So my kickboxing coach, my karate coach, said, "Listen, you obviously, Ricky, you look like you've got a talent with your fists. Why don't you go and give boxing a go? Because obviously, with you being short, the karate might not be for you, and the kickboxing might not be for you." So I went to the boxing club, and it basically started from there. And when I got to like 13 years old, I won my first national title. And then when I was 15, I started boxing for England. And then I thought, God, if you're boxing for England, you must be pretty good at this, if you're boxing.
Seems like a fair shout.
Yeah. And then as the fights went by and everything like that, and then the penny started to drop a little bit more, that was, and I kept winning national titles and boxing for my country. And then I started going in and out of the professional gyms in and around Manchester with Brian Hughes and Billy Graham, and sparring with world champions and British champions and European champions. And then they started saying to me about 17 years of age, "Listen, Ricky, if you go professional and you dedicate yourself and everything, you'll be a world champion." And I think to myself, well, if the present champions are saying that about me, I've got a chance of not only do well at this, but hopefully make a good living, out of it. And it basically went from there. So from I believe young age, maybe 13 years of age, people started to talk about me even back then. But even back then, I was doing it for a laugh, you know what I mean? But then it became my hobby, and ended up getting paid for doing something that started as a hobby. So as hard as the game of boxing is, it wasn't such a bad job, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you're enjoying punching people and then you're getting paid to do it, it's an absolute match made in heaven, right?
Yeah.
One thing I always admired about your approach in the ring is just the level of tenacity. And I feel like in a lot of your fights, one thing that always used to take people out was just pure heart. Obviously, the technical ability was there, but that just drive to push forward. And I see that as a mental attribute as much, like more so than a physical one. How big a factor do you feel that was in your success in your career?
Massive. I think it's self-belief, because I mean, when I was first coming through, I think everybody knew I was a good prospect, but they were like, "You're very exciting. He's very exciting, Ricky, and he's got a great style. He sells loads of tickets, But he's a little bit too much of a slugger. He gets cut very often, and his defense is a bit leaky. He walks into right-hand punches, and so yeah, he is a good prospect, but I don't think they're going to. I don't think he's going to go to the World Championship level. And this is what the press and the doubters were saying about me, and that became my drive. I used to think, you what, you cheeky so and so, you what?
You can swear on air, swear as much as you like, Ricky.
Yeah, oh, you
Go for it.
cheeky fuckers. You know what I mean? But that became my fuel. I thought, I'm going to prove you wrong, you lot, and that sort of like and it's that huge self-belief, even when the experts, or the so-called experts, didn't think that I had it in me, because I was a little bit too aggressive, a little bit too leaky defense. I was getting caught and everything like that. I thought, I'm going to prove you wrong if it's the last thing to do. And that became my strength. And even when people were saying that, the self-belief that I had in myself, and that's what you've got to have. You can't have anybody tell you that you can't do something. You know what I mean? It's of course you can. And if you have that attitude where you think, well, I'll be happy if I get a European title. You're probably not even going to get to the European title. Whatever you do, you've got to reach for the stars, for whatever profession you do, whatever sport you do. And that's what I did. I said, I didn't even, when I turned professional, I didn't even say I was going to be a world champion. I said I was going to be the best world champion in my weight division. Not just, because, there's 5 world titles in the weight division now. I said I want to be the best in the weight division. And everyone the press used to look at me and go, whatever, Rick, but I believe that. And I honestly believed it. And I said it on interviews when I was 18 years of age. And, they can go back on Sky TV and bring the interviews back. I said, if I don't become a world champion, I said, with my ability, I would have failed. And no one believed me, but that was my strength, my drive all the way through my career.
Where do you think that came from? Do you think that was something you were born with, or do you think this is something you developed through childhood?
Well, I think my mum and dad, when we were born on the council estate, and we wasn't rich as such or rolling with money, but we never wanted it for anything as kids because my mum and dad were grafters, as they say. They worked hard. My dad was in the pub game for a number of years. You know what I mean? And my mum and then eventually my mum and dad were selling carpets and stuff like that. Where sometimes I think when you're born on the council estate, you can either be happy with your life, you just get your wage, go to the pub, have a few drinks. But my mum and dad wanted to do that little bit extra to get the good things, for us as kids. So I guess it's that attitude. They could have sat on the backside as some parents, not all parents, but as some parents sometimes do. Just want the easy life. They never wanted the easy life, because they wanted us to have the best things. And so that type of attitude, even though it's a non-boxing attitude, it's the same attitude in many ways, isn't it? They wanted to better themselves, coming off the council estate, and I did in the boxing.
Yeah, I think everyone's got to find their thing. Like you say, having that driving force, having that mindset to actually have a desire to push forward is absolutely key. And who you're surrounded by is hugely, hugely important. A lot of the members of our community, they're obviously embarking on an entrepreneurial journey. There's a particular mindset that goes along with that. It's not the same as boxing, but you still require a certain drive, a certain tenacity to push through tough times.
Yeah, well, my mum and dad wanted to be better. They wanted to try and be better, and that's what they've. I think it's the way my mum and dad brought me up. They wanted an attitude. Listen, don't settle for anything. You want to be better, and that's what they did. They tried to work hard to get the best things for us. I tried to do it in boxing, and I think the way my parents brought me up, they put that attitude into me, and I surrounded myself by, like I meant, we talked a little bit off air before that. I still have the same friends I went to school with. You know what I mean? I've got a good family and I've got good friends around me. Not just good friends. If any Ricky Hatton got too big for his boots, or too a bit cocky, or too anything like that, you know what I mean? Which I wouldn't do, because that's the way my parents brought me up. Trust me, my friends would give me the curly finger and give me a slap. They wouldn't speak to me again if they thought I was getting, a little bit too big above my station. And I think that's all down to the attitude that my parents installed in me from day one. You know what I mean? It's been very fortunate. Some of the people I've met in my life through the boxing, and or have come to watch me fight and stuff like that. But I'm I'm like a homegrown lad, and like me, just there's no better than being in the pub with my mates rather than being Las Vegas with stars. That makes any sense.
Yeah, no, totally. Who you surround yourself is so important. Yeah. How did you? There must have been people along the way that weren't really supporting you and that weren't really in your corner. How did you manage to navigate that space and make sure you're always surrounded by the right people that really wanted to push you and wanted the best for you?
Well, no, obviously when you become a world champion or a big name or a celebrity, which I don't like referring to myself as that. But
I think you are a celebrity, Rick. I hate to break it to you, mate. You are a celebrity. I'm really sorry.
But, it's one thing, I suppose you're taught that watch out for people that want to be your mate, hangers on just because they want to be your mate because of who you are and not because of who, not because of who you are, if that That makes sense. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, there was, there was a few here, here and there, but not as many as you think, because they would have, they'd get, if they wasn't told by me, they get told by my brother, or they get told by me parents, or my mates. You know what I mean? Who's this fucking clown? Great, and sometimes it was just. It was one of them things where you do suppose get hangers on, and people want something from you, but no, I've been very, very fortunate. It never really happened, because I think people just, if anyone tried to, I think they know that they'd be just wasting the time. You know what I mean? You know what? I'd see right through it. So I've never really had any angers on as such. I'm sure there's if I cast my mind back, I'm sure there's a few tried, but no, not many, because I mean it's only like a small circle, and my mates and my family and the people I surround myself would see people like that coming a mile away, and they'd get told.
Yeah, for sure. And later on through your career, I mean, obviously there's some absolutely epic highs, and there are also some lows on the flip side of that. And I think this is very common with people in your position and sports stars in general going through this space. What did that look like for you when you reached such a monumental high with the leading up to the fight with Floyd Mayweather, and then some of the things that took place after
that? Well, it was. I've always been a little bit. I think when did mental health start? That I had. I think I always had it in the background, because I mean, I always have the same mates who I went to school with, and I used to go to the pub and play darts. Even when I was in training, I used to go and just have a pint of orange. You know what I mean? I like being around me mates. And then all of a sudden, when I turned professional, we had first fights in my nine fights in my first year. So I didn't. I hardly saw my mates. And they'd see me fighting on Sky TV, I'm just doing my 4-rounders. I was just getting my career going. And
there's Ricky chilling.
Yeah. And I used to get paranoid. I thought, I've not seen my mates for a bit. I hope they don't think I'm Charlie Big Spuds here. I mean, I'm getting a bit too big, big for my station here and like that. So I was, and that's a bit of a paranoia, where my mates would look at me on the TV and think, look at the Hitman there, and he's doing us proud. But in my mind, I thought to myself, I think they think I've got above my station, or I've got a bit too cocky here. So I think that was a sign of weakness in that area, a little bit. That the little bit of insecurity, for even though and that was pretty much all my life. And I think that's the way I've been, the way I am. Trying to come across, which is what I believe I am, down to earth, no airs and graces, same mate. And the things that we've touched on. But then when I got beat by Floyd Mayweather, who will arguably go down as one of the greatest fighters of all time. I mean, he was undefeated, as I was at the time. But and I also moved up a weight division in order to fight him. So to give him the tussle I give him, and then he knocked me out in the 11th round. There's nothing to be ashamed of, but I was ashamed, because I told everyone told everyone I'm going to go over there and bring them belts back, and look, and they've all 40,000 people have paid money to come and see me, and I've let them down and all that, and that it's only like now coming out the other end of coming out the other side, where I think that was madness to think it, but I did at the time, you know what I mean, and I cancelled all my appearances. I didn't like leaving the house. I was walking down the street. I thought people were looking at me and laughing at me, and they wasn't. They were looking at me with pride, but that's what I had in my head, and I felt like packing the game in. But I decided to make a comeback. 60,000 fans come and supported me at City of Manchester Stadium for me return. That proved, that people were proud of me and loved me. But it wasn't my best performance, and so I felt like chucking it in, and that's like things we don't. I fell out with my trainer Billy Graham, but then I fought Polly Malignaggi and won again. So my mindset was, I got beat by Mayweather, so my mind was down, and then I boxed at City, so my mind was up, and then I fell out with my trainer Billy Graham, and then my mind was back down again. But then I beat Paulie Malignaggi with a good performance, so my mind was back up. And then I got beat by Pacquiao. So my frame of mind is yo-yoing, you know what I mean? And 1 minute I'm happy, 1 minute I'm not, 1 minute I'm happy, 1 minute I'm not. And then ultimately getting beat by Pacquiao was the end of my career. I knew my best days were behind me. I had to retire. And that was the worst. And I was sat in my settee at home one day, and I just said, listen, you haven't got boxing no more. You don't speak to your mum and dad anymore. You don't speak to Billy Graham, your trainer, who was there every step of the way. What's the point of you carrying on? You know what I mean? Everyone who was there with you all the way, you don't speak to no more, and you haven't even got boxing. So it was a real horrific time for like friends on the outside. I mean, you could see me crumbling, and there was nothing they could do to help me, because when you've got mental health and that, you keep it inside, innit? You don't want to go telling anyone I'm crying every day. You know what I mean? I'm sat crying on the settee, and I've got a knife to my wrist every night. I said, you don't want people to know that, because I'm Ricky Hatton. That's what you think in your own mind. And through that period, it was absolutely horrific. I thought to myself, I haven't got the strength, I haven't got the bottle, the courage to kill myself. So I then thought to myself, I thought, I'll just go on. What I do, I can't kill myself. I haven't got the balls to go through with it. I said, I'll just drink myself to death and drug myself to death. So I just went on massive drink and drug binges, and that didn't work. But
I don't think it's ever worked in the history.
There was a couple of times, come close a couple of times, and it was just like, even, when I was having a drink, I wanted to kill myself. And then even if I'd have like 3-4 days off where I was just sat on my own, same thing. So it wasn't just because when I was getting drunk, it was just all the time. I just didn't want to be here. Yeah.
And what was it you think that really got you to that point? So do you think it is the factor of losing the people around you? Is it the way you perceived people saw you to be at that time?
I hope you guys are enjoying this episode of the Platinum Podcast, brought to you by Platinum University, the real-life school of mindset, online business, and financial independence. Platinum University teaches you everything conventional education missed. We're helping thousands of people to create multiple passive income streams that create more money, time, and freedom. We literally guide you through every step of the process with the help of our in-house experts and our powerful, like-minded community groups. To get 35% off your monthly subscription, permanently lock in the discounted price of $39.99 and get access to our mindset, forex, dropshipping, stocks, crypto, affiliate marketing, and property content, visit platinumuniversity.co.uk/join.
Well, I fell out with my mum and dad, which I'm very proud to say. I mean, I'm glad I didn't kill myself, because I've made up with my mum and dad now. I didn't speak to my mum and dad for 8 years, but now I speak to them, and we put the past behind us, and we're having such wonderful times. I mean, I'm a grandfather now. My son Campbell's got a daughter, Lila, and seeing Campbell is turning professional now. He makes his professional debut in 3 weeks' time. And I'm back talking to Billy Graham now, my trainer. We speak to on a regular basis, and I nearly lost out on all them things. If I'd have took my life, and it was just. I think the worst thing was, when there was no more boxing, because even though I fell out with my mum and dad and I fell out with Billy Graham, because I was still fighting, that was my main focus. That took up a big amount of my time. But then when the boxing finished, and the fact that I don't speak to my mum and dad, who have been there from day one, and Billy Graham's been there from day one, I think that was the worst one. I mean, I've won all these titles, I've got a nice car, I've got all this money, but I don't see my mum and dad, I don't see Bill and Graham, I haven't got boxing anymore. What's the point? What's the point? And it was a horrific 2 or 3 years. Yeah, it really was.
So you mentioned your son Campbell, who's about to make his pro debut. What kind of approach would you take, or would you want your son to approach to do things differently to you, if any at all?
Well, we have a little saying, me and Campbell, is do as I say, not as I do. and the thing is he's like me in many ways. He's an absolute double of me. Absolute double image of me. He's got the same sense of humor as me. He's got a little one-liner for everything, but he's he's confident but humble with it, and he's proud of his roots. He's proud of Manchester. He listens to Oasis. He supports Man City. He's proud of Manchester. He's got a little one-liner, quick answer for everything. But he's humble with it as well. And I think, given in time, everyone is, at the minute, it's all Ricky Hatton's lads going pro. But I think once they see him fight and they see the type of man he is and the type of person he is and type, just what he is, big picture, all of a sudden, and ultimately the fighting will speak for itself. He'll have his reputation. He'll be known as Campbell Hatton, not Ricky Hatton's son, in a few years. I think that's what he wants to do. But you've got to give him credit for going into the hardest game of all, with a dad that achieved what I achieved, and he wants to go into that sport. So you've got to say hats off to him. You know what I mean? So no, I think he's a good kid, humble, confident. He's been brought up. His mum brought him up the right way. So, and I think people would love him like they loved me. And I think he'll get his own. It must be hard because you don't want your reputation of oh, that's Ricky Hatton's son. That's Ricky Hatton's son. Matthew, my brother, he was known as Ricky Hatton's brother, but he ended up winning the European title and going the distance for Saul Alvarez, who's the number one pound for pound fighter in the world today. So he didn't do that through his brother. He did that off his own back, and I think Campbell will eventually do the same. But ultimately, I think people will love Campbell like they love me because he is me in many ways. And if you like me, you can't help but like this little shit.
How does it feel watching your son in there? It must be really mixed emotions going into that.
It's a little bit. I was always nervous when he used to box, when he was as an amateur and that, but I've relaxed a little bit as I've seen him improve over the last few years. The last few years of his amateur career, he boxes for a great boxing gym, the Roy Richardson Academy in Stockport. Brilliant gym, but he was also doing a lot with myself and Matthew in the gym at the same time. And I think in the 2 years when he was working with me and Matthew and at the Roy Richardson Academy, he slipped a gear. He really started improving. And it was a few years earlier, we thought, it's going to be a while before Campbell goes pro, if he in fact does go pro. But then he improved so much over the last 2 years that we thought, God, might have half a chance here. It's really improving. And that's what he did. And because he's gone professional with me now, as I'm his manager, and Matthew, my brother, is his trainer. And I think we will be nervous, me and Matthew, when he does fight. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, it wouldn't be natural not to do it. But me and Matthew's got a job to do. Do you know what I mean? And we can't afford to be wet lettuces. You know what I mean? When he fights, we've got to be strong. We've got a job to do to advise him the best we can, give him the best advice from my part. Matthew, get him in the best shape and the best and the best advice we can give him for boxing across the board. And if you're if you're a little bit like a wet lettuce or you're crumbling every 5 minutes, no, we've got a job to do. So we've got to be on the ball. So it will be nervous, but trust me, it'll be manageable because that's the way we've got to be.
Yeah, for sure. It's the way you talk about that. It's very much the intent that makes a big difference. Much in like the way with the mental health issues,
yeah,
you have to have that purpose there.
Yeah, and like me, and he's putting his career in my hands and Matthew's hands. So we can't fuck up. We can't be. We've got a job to do. And so although the emotions, they will be there, they've got to be put to the side because we've got to do a job for the best for my son. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So what advice would you give to other people, maybe young lads, whether they be going into boxing, whether they be going into entrepreneurship or anything that's going to have some hurdles? What would your advice be in terms of mindset?
Well, you've got to believe in you. You've got to believe in you've got to have self-belief. And to be honest with you, you don't think Floyd Mayweather didn't have, bad days in the gym or rocky days outside of the gym or anything like that. That's life. You know what I mean? It's when things are going well in this world, it's a wonderful world. But when things are going shit, that's what it is. And it's up to you as a man or a person or a lady to be that, to be the man, to stand up and say, listen, I'm not letting this beat me. from a boxing point of view, you know, I mean, there's fighters out there like my brother Matthew. Whether you go into business or you go into football, there's going to be, rocky stages. Matthew lost a couple of 6-rounders early on in his career, and then he got disqualified once, and then but then he kept. Well, he didn't let it deter him. He kept at it, and then eventually he fought for the European title and went the distance with Saul Alvarez. You know, Anthony Crolla. I used to promote Anthony Crolla. Anthony Crolla became the world champion. Another Manchester boxer that done us proud. You know, Anthony Crolla. He lost a 6-rounder also in his career, and then he lost a British title fight to Derry Matthews. You know, he got stopped. But he kept at it, and then he became a world champion and fought some of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, like Linares and Lomachenko. So, you know, Johnny Nelson, who's the head of Sky Boxing now, he was world cruiserweight champion. He lost his first fight. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you've got to, things don't go right. And that's life, and we've all got to accept that sometimes things don't go right. But you know, you've just got to keep on and keep pushing. You know, it's not where you start your career. It's where you finish your career that matters. And it's, and that's what makes you, once you do achieve it at the end, how great it is, to say I've had all these, you've had all these problems and that didn't go right and that didn't go right, hey, but I got there anyway. What a confidence booster that is for everyone. You know what I mean? So it's, I think that's the best advice I can give. You know what I mean? If at first you don't succeed, just try again, because if you've got the mindset, you'll get there. And you know what I mean? The minute you start accepting to yourself that life isn't a box of chocolates, it isn't, all easy. I think you've got half the job done then, because then when you do have a little bit of a downfall, it's easier for you to take it then if you have a little bit of a bad time.
Yeah, definitely. So what would you say? What is it about failure that you need to come to terms with?
Everyone fails. It's just a part of life. Everyone fails. I believe. I think it's just, everyone fails. But I mean, legacies, some of the, the greatest, and I'm only doing it because I put a boxing spin on things. Greatness is, there's only been a few fighters that, have retired undefeated. But greatness and legacies in boxing is built on how you come back from them defeats. Everything's great when you're knocking everybody out and you're winning and everyone's patting you on the back. Or, you need great, you need this, you need that, you need that. You find out more about yourself when you get beat. And I think people respected me when I got beat by Mayweather and I came back, beat Lascano, and then fought Malignaggi in Vegas and beat him, and then earned the right to challenge for the pound-for-pound championship again against Manny Pacquiao. Do you know what I mean? That's what I did from my defeat. You know what I mean? And going through all my demons and mental things. So I think people respect me now more because of my problems and because of my failures. And I think we've all got to accept that, listen, we're all human. You're going to have, bumpy ones. But I mean, at the end of the day, you come out on top, you get the respect you deserve. And it's, people respect you more then. And what it is, for you to look in the mirror and go, God, blimey, I've been through some crap, but look at me now. And that's what I do. Look at me now. I've never been happier in my life than I am at the minute. It's one thing lifting world title belts up and 40,000 going to Vegas, but when you've looked, you've looked, I'd say it sounds a bit corny, but once you've looked death in the face and you've been through them real dark times, and you see that I'm here now and what I've got and what I nearly didn't have. No, Ricky Hatton's never been happier.
Yeah, that's a testament to good character. That's why good
that's why
built, right?
That's exactly, and that's the point we try and put across to anybody who's having these troubles with mental health. You know what I mean? We've all been there, but the bad days don't last. Do you know what I mean? Tomorrow's another day, and you just got to try and be positive. And if you can't do it on your own, you know what I mean, never be scared to pick the phone up. The first thing you can do is admit it. I never wanted to admit it. And I think that's why I went into such a bad place, because I thought, I'm Ricky Hatton. I'm not telling anybody what's going on in between my four walls. I'm not telling anybody that. I'm Ricky Hatton. I'm supposed to be the hardest man in the world. I'm not telling everyone I'm crying every night. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But I tell you what, you're a bigger man if you do. And that's what people need to realise who are suffering. You know what I mean? Get it off your chest. What do they say? A problem shared. I'm telling you, it's very true.
Yeah, there's so much shame around men specifically saying how they feel. and it's just considered to make a lot of men feel like it makes them look weak. And
yeah, well, that's what I thought. Yeah.
and it's crazy, like, to think someone in your position, arguably one of the hardest people in the world, right? And that's how you're feeling. You're a man like any other. And I think it's
and you've got to
shame.
do it. It's not like the thing is with mental health. It's there's some terrible things out there. None more than cancer. But I mean, if cancer is the worst, mental health has got to be the second. Because I mean, you can't see mental health. You don't get a spot or a cut or you can't see it. So if you don't share it and be man enough and get it off your chest and that, you're not gonna find the problem out. I think you've got to be man enough and say, listen, I need help, and never be it takes a bigger man. It takes a bigger man, and I get what the buzz I get out when I tell people that story. I was crying, I went to see my psychiatrist, I fell on his knees, I went, please help me, I'm gonna kill myself. They went, you actually did that? And I go, yeah, and they go, when I see people then go full circle and go, right, yeah, I'm gonna tell someone, Ricky. That's what it's all about. And if everyone who has it can do the same to someone else, we're going to solve the problem, aren't we?
Yeah, that's hugely powerful. And when it comes from somebody in your position saying it, that's why it has such a positive impact
Absolutely.
on other people's lives.
And that's why I do it now. And I'll forever do it because of the impact, the shock on people's faces. They go, really, Ricky? No, I'm not having that. I went, shut
Not
up.
you.
Yeah, no. And it has that bigger impact. And there's no turning back now. Tyson Fury does it the same. Me and Tyson Fury spoke about this a number of times because as I come out of my bad patch and got on the straight now, sadly, my friend Tyson was going into depression and suicide and addiction, and all that stuff. And many times I spoke about Tyson Fury, and he was the same. Listen, if Ricky Hatton can do it, and the heavyweight champion of the world, Tyson Fury can do it. Listen, come on. There's no shame in doing it. If us two lettuces can do it, you can.
I think it's so powerful coming from a man like you, and I think it just gives permission, and I think that's absolutely huge. So it's a real testament to who you are as a person and an athlete to be doing that. I think it's special. Yeah. And what was the moment where you really realized that I need to get help? Because obviously you've got this conditioning that's telling you, no, I'm weak, I don't want to do this. You're obviously scared to disclose that because it goes against who you see yourself to be. What was the final straw that made you go, no, I need to get help now?
Well, everyone has their own different reason, don't they? I mean, that's the way you've got to approach mental health. You've got to be man enough to come out and say it and this and that. But I mean, the turning corners can sometimes always be different for different people. I mean, my second child, Millie, my daughter, she excuse me, she became, my ex Jennifer became pregnant, and we hadn't planned for Millie or anything, and then all of a sudden Millie was on us, and I was going through all my bad times still and everything like that, and I got to the hospital and I just held her in my arms, and I just looked down at her and I thought, and I had Campbell at the time, my first son. But Campbell was a little bit older, and obviously I was already too deep into it. But I mean, when Millie was born, I was like held in my arms, and I thought, oh, Rick, come on, you need to get yourself together here now. You've got two kids here that you're working hard for to get the best for them, and you're crumbling. And that's what I did. I just started going in the gym again, started running again, started training. And I wasn't even thinking comeback. I was just happy to be in the gym and running and getting a bit of fresh air and off the beer and everything like that. And then just as I got a little bit fitter, I thought to myself, I thought maybe I can do a little bit of a comeback here, because I mean, the way my life or my career, my life panned out in the end with, the story in the paper of me, taking drugs and the suicide attempts and the depression and this, and there was a lot of stories in the paper that I was mightily embarrassed about, you know what I mean? But the only thing I can say is, in sympathy, was I was a very, very, very poorly person. I didn't know what I was doing, where I was going, who I was with. It was very, really horrible times. And even though, people would say to me, listen, Rick, God blimey, Rick, You got beat by Floyd Mayweather. There's no shame in that. You got beat by Manny Pacquiao. And we all have problems, Rick. What's up with you? I went, well, you may think that, but between my two eyes, in between my ears, I feel like I've let my fans down. The fans that support me all these years, Ricky Hatton, the boy next door, nowhere's Gracie's good lad, you know what I mean? I said, I feel I've got to come back and redeem myself and sort of like put them mistakes right. So, well, you don't have to. He said, well, I don't give a shit whether you think I don't. I do. And I can't move on with my life until I turn around and sort of like clear that page. And I made a comeback. I picked probably a tougher opponent than I should have done for me, for 4 years, 5 years out of the ring, and all my demons that I was facing to pick a former world champion in my first fight. The fellow had 34 fights, lost one, and I picked him for my first fight. So but that's Ricky Hatton. So I mean, I thought to myself, I'd have beat him a few years ago. If I can't beat him, then that tells me that I need to stay retired. But ultimately, it ended up in defeat. But it was the greatest win of my boxing life, because I mean, even though I got beat, people said, "Well, to do what he's done and come back from, physically and mentally, what he's done, and to pick a champion such as that, to get that. We all have problems in our life. Ricky's no different to anyone else, but to do what he's done, to get into the ring and put on that performance, and I think people respected me more." After that, because of, all the demons that I fought, and losing 5 stone in weight, and, and stuff like that. And to go there and compete at the top level again after all that, it sort of like proved, not only redeemed myself, my reputation, I feel, it told anybody, whether you got mental health or whether you're down or depressed, it told you that anything can be done. Because what I should have been dead. What I did that night in my comeback, it shouldn't have been possible, but I did. And I think, and that's so that was one of my best. That was also one of my best fights in my career, to be honest, for other reasons.
I think that's like you say, it's a huge win over your own demons. It kind of marks the moment when you kind of beat your own worst enemy, which arguably was yourself. Right?
It's another case of, listen, it can be done. It can be done. You sat on your settee, now you're depressed, you feel upset. Oh, it can't be done. Get it off your chest. Get it off your chest. You've got to start small. Get your confidence up, get moving, get doing, keep yourself active. The longer you sit there on the couch soaking. I mean, this lockdown now, I mean, I run every day, because once I get up in the morning, get me run out the way, it sets me tone for the rest of the day. Do you know what I mean? So we all say we'll go to the gym. Oh, I'll go to the gym. We'll go to the gym, and sometimes we don't we? But then the minute you do finally get to the gym, you get your ass off the couch and you get in the gym, you feel 10 feet tall, don't you? Sure. And that's the way it's got to be. You're feeling a little bit down, get up and do something. And then if you're feeling really, 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 really down, get on the phone or tell someone or phone someone. And that's the way it's got to be. That's got to be, some people take medicine. That's got to be your medicine if you've got mental health. That's the way you've got to approach every day and never be ashamed to do it.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Training's always been my medicine. I feel like I'd be lost without it. How big a factor do you think that is, given the lockdown situation in the UK? You've got gyms shut all over the country. How big an impact do you think that's having on people's mental health right now?
I think it's massive. I don't think they've gone about it. I think there's things they could have done a little bit better. I think, but I think we should have gone in full lockdown from the start. Let everyone knows where they go. But I mean, you give someone a little bit of honey, right? 1 minute you can go out, next minute you can stay in. 1 minute you can go out, now you can go to the pub, and now you can't go to the pub. But no, you can go to the pub, but you can have something to eat. Well, no, you can't have something.
Next thing you're in there playing darts with 40 people.
And I think everyone's head was like, just turn around. If they just went, listen, national lockdown, we all need to stay in for a few months, like we're doing at present. I think we'd stand a better chance, and at least people know. But you can't keep. It's like controlling people's lives. You can't do this. You can't do that. Or you could do it. You could do it this month, but next month you're back to doing that stuff and that. And that's half the problem. If you let us know where we're going and what we're doing and what we need to do, we can get our mindset around it. But when you're chopping, changing the rules every 5 minutes, I think you don't help people with mental health. I think it's the worst thing you can do, and it's a shame that the gyms need to get open, not just for your mental health. Like I mentioned there, You know, you need to start your day doing something positive, and 9 times out of 10, that's a run, a walk, or whatever it is. But I mean, it's not just for your mental health. What happens after Christmas and New Year? What do? We all put weight on. Do you know what I mean? And what do? We have January, dry January, they call it, and everyone goes to the gym, don't they? Everything like that. But we can't even go. So we can't even look after our mental health. We can't even look after our physical health. That's another bollock I think they've dropped by not having the gyms open. You need them gyms open, and look at the strike rate. You know, I have a gym, I have health and fitness in Manchester, and that's shut at the minute. But I mean, when it was open, you're spraying the running machines. You know, the lines are on the floor, the distances in place. The gyms are the cleanest places in the world. You know, it's spreading less in gyms than anywhere, and you're closing them. You know what I mean? I think the gyms need to be open, and hopefully the next announcement, I don't know when I think it's in another month or something like that. I think they need to get them open. You know, the gyms are as clean as anything. And I don't know, but I think that the numbers are as low in gyms as they are anywhere. So I think
probably they're the healthier people in the population, right? So they're probably going to have better immunity.
Exactly. Makes no sense. I'm not going to turn around and say it's not been an easy job for the government. But listen, just a little bit more consistency so we all know what we're doing with our heads, because you keep throwing us curveballs every 5 minutes. Do this, don't do this, don't do this. Oh, no, you can do it this week, but don't do it next week. And then, that's half the problem. Just tell us where we're going.
You've heard it from Ricky Hatton. Tell us where the fuck we're going and open the fucking gyms.
Yeah.
Jesus. I think that's an amazing point to end on. Before we do end, I'd love for you to tell people a little bit about some of the charities that you work with regarding mental health and the other things that you do, and where they can find them to show their own support.
Yeah, well, there's it's just a general thing. I mean, there's not many. I'm the patron of a couple of charities, Genesis Breast Cancer, which is very close to my heart, and I'm also of charity for the homeless in Manchester, which is very important to me, especially in times like this, where you need your family around you, as best you can. And some of these people haven't even got families. The homeless, the job that Barnabas are doing in Manchester for the homeless is fantastic. But I think I'd love to be the patron for every charity, but there's only so many hours in the day, and there's only so many things you can do. And I do things for all charities, but those are two that are very, very close to my heart. And I feel that as part of my job now is like, it's one thing. I'm a boxing coach now, and to train boxers and try and let them live their dreams like I lived mine. You know what I mean? That's my job now, I guess. But my job is doing stuff like we've done today, is like speaking about mental health and helping the homeless and helping people in the world that aren't as fortunate as we are, or might be struggling, and use my I can't think of the word. Use my position, if you like, in order to try and make a difference for those that are less fortunate. So that's my job. But I think with the mental health, you just got to keep busy, keep your mind active, keep busy. You know what I mean? If you sat on the couch, it gives you time to think and ponder rubbish, which is what it is, rubbish. But if you get off your backside and get doing something, I tell you what, you're going to make it so easier. And if that doesn't work for you and you're in a really, really bad place, you just got to tell someone. And what do they say? 2 heads are better than 1, 3 is better than 2, 3 is better than 2, 4 is better than 3. You know what I mean? Tell someone and let someone help you. You know what I mean? Because it's sadly sometimes it's some have done it on their own, but sometimes you need a bit of help. So don't be ashamed to come out and say it. And I think the more people that do that, the more lives we save.
Powerful. Thank you very much for your time, Ricky. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, my friend.
No, my pleasure. Enjoyed it.
Really enjoyed that, man. So enjoy the rest of your day. I know you got some training to take care of. So
yeah, off to the gym now, to be honest. So yeah. But
yeah.
no, stuff like this is a good start to your day, because you're talking about stuff and knowing that hopefully someone will listen to it and fucking do it. So yeah. For
sure. There's a lot of people listening to this right now. I can assure you they're going to take some really good value for that. So that you're really
fingers crossed. Hope so. Take care, everyone.
Take care, Ricky. Take care.
All the best.
This is the Platinum Podcast.